Alright, in this video I thought we would try an interesting experiment with OpenCore Legacy Patcher, and we are going to use, rather than an external thumb drive to create the macOS installer, we are going to attempt to use a partition of the internal hard drive to complete this process. Now, why might you want to do this? Well, say you, like me currently, don't have a spare thumb drive on hand. Well, according to the OpenCore developers, then you're sort of out of luck. However, I don't think that's true, and I think we will be able to successfully install macOS Sonoma or Sequoia. I haven't quite decided which operating system onto this machine. Now, this machine is a 2016 Touch Bar MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it has 256 gigabytes of storage. I've already put, considerable amount of stuff on here. You can see I have, considerable amount of applications and files on here already, but they're all backed up either to external storage or the cloud in case any of this goes wrong. So the first step is to go into Disk Utility, and we're going to select this entire drive. Now, this video will be a little bit less of a tutorial and more just me sort of experimenting and seeing if this process even works. So we can click Partition here, add a partition. Yes, we're going to add a partition and just make this 32 gigabytes, and we'll call this macOS volume, just to delineate it from macOS installer, because the issue is whenever a macOS installation starts, it creates a new volume called macOS installer, and so I don't want the operating system to get confused and the installation to ultimately fail because I've named macOS installer, and it's just going to be the same thing. So instead, macOS volume will be the name of the drive. So we're going to hit apply here, and I'm going to pause the screen recording because it will freeze up the system, and then when it's done, I can show you how we will proceed. Alright, so that operation succeeded. We can see we have macOS volume here, which is what we're going to use to create the installer. So we can exit out of Disk Utility. I have OpenCore here behind it. So we can build and install OpenCore and install to disk here. And then we should just be able to install it right onto the SSD here. And we will ignore for now, not reboot yet. Return to main menu and create the macOS installer. We're going to download one. And so for this demonstration on this machine, I'm going to use macOS Sequoia. I think I've just decided it should run fine on this machine. So we're going to hit download. I did hook up the machine to Ethernet, which doesn't really seem to be doing much, unfortunately, but I was hoping we could get at least 10 times the speed because I have gigabit speeds, so it should be going about 10 times as fast. But if we have to wait 19 minutes, I think that will be fine. So we'll just wait for macOS Sequoia to successfully download, and then we can see whether or not we can actually use this macOS volume to create the installer. Alright, so this is already not going well. We can see when we create macOS installer, use existing macOS installer, it'll find the Sequoia that we downloaded. The only disk we have is my external, which I'm storing all these screen recordings on. So I don't obviously want to erase this because I have important data on it. So I'm going to try something else. I'm going to return to main menu, and we're going to just eject Wayfarer for the time being. And what I'm going to try is doing this manually. I have no idea if this is going to work. I don't know sort of the framework that OpenCore uses, not technical framework, but like the way in which OpenCore is creating the macOS installer. I'm going to guess, though, it involves the create install media script. So the create install media script is something that is run in the macOS terminal, and I can show you this in a second, that is normally run on external USB drives, and I have had success doing this on an external partition in the past. So we are going to open terminal here, and here I'll just center the window a little bit so you can see it. We are going to open up the applications folder, and we're going to find install macOS Sequoia. So there it is. And I can show you just right now, if we try to run this, it won't, it will either freeze, which it looks like it's just totally frozen, it won't even open, or if it does eventually open, it will just say that it is not compatible. So that's the issue that we're going to try to mitigate. But basically, the reason why I did this is so that I can drag this in the terminal window, and so we don't need this anymore. So then we type /contents, and we'll just autocomplete this /resources /create install media --volume, and you can see why I physically removed my external SSD so I don't erase it by accident. Let's see if this works. Now, it is entirely possible that this... I see the issue. It's entirely possible that this just won't work. Tool must be run as root. Let's do this. I want to erase. Yes, it's fine. APFS disks may not be used as bootable install media. Okay. Let me go into disk utility. This is getting complicated. Okay, let me go into disk utility. Where is... Oh, I see the issue. So what can we do? Okay, so this is permanently APFS. Can we erase this as a different thing? macOS volume. Let's try this. I don't know if this is going to work. Erase process has failed. Okay, why did it fail? Couldn't be com.apple.mobile software update. Oh my lord. Okay, so let's go into activity monitor and kill that process. com.apple.mobile software update. I'll just get rid of both. Force quit. This might not work. We may just have to start this process all over from the beginning. Deleting volumes. Okay, maybe this will work. Switching content types. That's a good sign. That's what we want. Because this is in the wrong format. So the issue is that this, when I created the partition, I was totally oblivious to the fact that it was an APFS partition, and this needs to be macOS extended. So I believe should be get info. Oh, it says right here, but it's a macOS extended file system. So let's go back to OpenCore, and let's try that again just with the normal thing and see if it works. No disks found. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so this isn't... It has to use... OpenCore has to use a whole disk, clearly. So let's go back to terminal and run do that again. Sudo, yes, we're running it as sudo. I typed in that command correctly. Okay. That is a good sign. Okay. Now, if we go to Activity Monitor, we go to the Disk tab, get rid of this, we can see the Create Install Media process and how much data it is writing. So to get an idea, to get a pretty good idea, we can go back to our Applications folder, Install macOS Sequoia, that's 15 gigabytes. So this is copying at 40 megabytes per second, give or take, sometimes a little bit lower. So this is going to take, oh my god, this is going to take a while. Well, has it already finished? No, this is not even close. It's like this is stuck. Okay. So this has to write 15 gigabytes at like 30 megabytes per second. So this is going to take a really long time. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is going to take a while. So I'll resume this video. When this is done, I'll connect my Wayfarer back so I can copy the screen capture, and then I can resume the video when and if this actually works. Oh, right. Presumably, this should have worked. Now, I don't have a tripod to set this phone on because I'm in my dorm, so I'll just have to do it like this. Presumably this worked, so we're gonna power on while holding Option, and hopefully OpenCore shows up as a... Yep, there it is. EFI boot. Now, an interesting thing that you can do is you can hold down Control, and it will just select that to always use that. So I'm just gonna, I can't do this with one hand, so I'm gonna do that, boot into this, and see if this works. Again, this is entirely possible that this just is not gonna work, so we'll see. All right, that is a good sign. It seems like this is at least trying to boot. Whether or not it will actually boot is a totally different question. Oh, okay, everything is really, really small because it's using the, what it's doing, and I've seen this issue on other Retina MacBooks before. It's using the native display resolution, and so everything is just really, really minuscule. So we'll just have to do this like this, but this should work. So let's see if we can just run through this installer. I don't know. The other question is whether or not OpenCore, like, if you do it normally with OpenCore, will it do special things that the Create Install Media script doesn't do? I guess is my question. I don't know. And so, like, will we actually be able to do this? Because I used a workaround. So it looks like this is going to work because we have, can hardly see that. I can try to zoom this camera in. 5x telephoto lens on the iPhone 16 Pro comes in very handy during these situations, doesn't it? Macintosh HD, so we can see that there, and we can hit continue. Oh, this is actually working. So a neat thing that you can do is Command L will open a log, which is pretty useless because it's so small, but I'll just keep this open. I can't even read that with my own eyes, so I'll just keep this open just in case something goes wrong. That shouldn't be the case, but we can go to show all logs, and hopefully we can see, like, if I squint 2 millimeters away from the display, I should be able to see if something goes wrong. So, all right. We'll see how this goes. All right, everything is really, really minuscule again. I think that says about 28 minutes remaining, so thankfully I have 28 minutes to wait for this. I mean, it's going to take longer than 28 minutes, I know that. Now, something that I should have shown on camera, and I'll try to show it on camera the next time it happens. So when that previous screen goes away, you'll see 3 options come up. It'll be like macOS installer, Macintosh HD, and install macOS Sequoia. You always want to leave it on macOS installer. It will automatically do that for you. If it doesn't, just select macOS installer. If you select any of the other two options, the installation will fail, and then you'll have to go back and reboot into the installer and start all over again. So don't make that mistake. I've learned that the hard way. Just install macOS Sequoia. Just use the macOS installer option. Again, if that comes back up in a couple of minutes, I will try to show that on camera. So this is what you might encounter: macOS installers, Macintosh HD-data, and install macOS Sequoia. Now, you might be wondering, well, what the heck do I select? I already talked about this previously, but if you select these other two, the installation won't work. So macOS installer, always. And when the installation finishes, that will disappear and it will just boot normally. All right, so this installation just finished, and this is what we are met with: a white screen. So I think the part of the problem is that we have not actually applied the post-volume patches to this machine. Now, you might recall in my previous video that I did a couple years ago about installing macOS Sonoma on a 2011 15-inch MacBook Pro, we ran into the same issue. And even with the post-volume patches, nothing worked. So I'm hoping that is not the case here, but if we go to OpenCore, and this is running really, really slow, so I might just have to do this off camera, but if we go to the OpenCore patcher application, then we should be able to install the post-volume patches like this, and then we can just do everything that might be needed to make this system more functional. So hopefully this works. All right, so I applied the post-volume patches, and this is a lot better. We can see we've got everything working here. Now, I should mention, it took a solid 2 minutes or so for the desktop picture to show up and for like everything to kind of load. The system was running really, really slow. I mean, it still kind of is. It's also doing a bunch of spotlight indexing and stuff, which is also contributing to the slow performance. Like we can see, just going through system settings is just painful. I won't even try to load the wallpaper page. So it's just slow. So hopefully, I mean, I'm sure after all the spotlight indexing is finished, it'll run a little bit better. But I mean, this is a 9-year-old computer, and I'm actually pretty impressed with how this runs, because if you remember, my 2011 didn't work, and my 2013 MacBook Air, actually, and I never made a video about this, but after the update to OpenCore version 2.1.0, I think, or 2.1.1, it was one of those versions, it just quit working. It just totally stopped working. And actually, there's a channel, Mr. Macintosh, who does videos on OpenCore and stuff like that, and he actually talked about what causes that issue on that particular machine. It is specific to those MacBook Airs, and I just got like really unlucky that my MacBook Air just happened to be the one that was most affected by that issue. But this machine seems to not be, because on that MacBook, nothing worked. Wallpaper didn't show up, Wi-Fi didn't work, nothing worked. It was basically an unusable system. So I actually reinstalled Big Sur on that machine for the time being, but this seems to be running well. So I'm happy with how this worked. I'll delete this partition off camera because it's pretty much the same process, just going the other way in Disk Utility, just clicking the delete button pretty much. And then we can free up some much needed storage. So anyway, I'm very happy with how this runs. You can see the touch bar works very well. Actually, it just occurred to me my menu bar stats disappeared. Oh, and they came back. All right. So overall, I'm happy with how this runs. So if this video was helpful to you, please like it and share it with people, because I would appreciate people seeing this new, well, perhaps not new, but different method of getting macOS installed on these computers.